guys, so this is Rick. I was told the other day by a friend that we never had a video on how to remove the glove box. So we've done all the other interior pieces. So here's the glove box we're looking at. Now this particular customer, obviously we already installed the glove box. You can see it's fitting really nice. But the question is, how do you get this glove box out to replace it? Because most glove boxes don't look so good. So here's one here that I have an example of, you can see. I mean, it's not in the greatest of shape. It's got some marks on it. You know, sometimes it rips. The hinges, sometimes they break. You can see this one of the hinges broke already. This side has still got 2 of the hinges there, so we're good. You can order these hinges from Acura. I'll give you the part number later if you want to order them. But essentially, how do you go from something like this to something like that? So we're going to show you a couple things. It's really easy to remove the glove box. There's only a couple of screws. So there's 2 hidden Phillips screws, and I'm going to show you in a second here. Let me get this camera off here. All right, so let's get a close-up look. So basically, this is the trim piece that's underneath. It's already hanging because we kind of popped the clips off already. But underneath, there are 2 Phillips screws. There's one right here, and there's one right here. So when these 2 Phillips screws are removed, this whole piece is held in by 3 snap clips, which I'll come up here and show you. So there's one there, there's one more there, and there's one more holding on this side. So if I can get it off, there you go. There's 3 clips. So this piece just kind of pops off. When this piece comes off, there's the holes you can see where the screws used to be. There's one on this side and one on this side. But underneath it exposes the hinges for the glove box. So there's 2 right there, and there's 2 over here. So when these hinges are all removed, you can see here I already started to pull the screws off. We take the 4 screws off, and then the glove box essentially just comes out. And when this thing comes out, I'll show you after we remove this, we'll show you how to separate and assemble the piece, because you're gonna have to transfer a couple of things from the glove box, including the plastic, the key, and a couple other pieces. So I'll show you on the bench how that's done, but that's how you remove it from the car. It's only a couple screws, 2 from the bottom, 3 clips, and 4 holding the hinges in place. Alright, so we're here on the workbench. I want to show you a couple things before we get started. So here's a carbon piece that we're going to replace with. The pieces we make, you can see they're meticulously made. The carbon weave, it's got all the attachment points, threaded inserts for the hinges. Now, these may not seem like a big deal because when you put it in, you know, carbon fiber, as long as it looks good from a distance, but these details, you can see how these holes are done. They really make a difference when you install it. So if you're the one putting these things together, you'll see that the fitment is very, very good on these pieces. These are not just cheap covers that are made to slap over the existing one, right? So let's set this carbon piece aside for a minute, and let's get over to the OEM piece. Now we flip this thing around, there's a lot of screws in here. It's important to remember which screws goes where. You guys will have this video to refer to, so that's always handy, but just note the screws are different. You see how these screws are flat screws, and these are the round head screws. So let's remove some of these. These are all machine screws, so you gotta make sure that you don't misplace them. So those are the ones in the front, set those aside. These on the end here are flat tips. That was a pretty tight one there. So we'll make these out, set these side over here. We flip it over, there's 3 more at the bottom. This all holds the plastic cover in place. So just make sure you remove them in the correct way. These 3 at the bottom are, again, the round kind of pan head type screws. So we're gonna put these over here. So when all those are removed, this cover should lift out. There we go. It's a little dusty in there, but the cover comes out. So we're gonna set this aside, use it later. You can see in here, we got more screws in here. These are the screws I mentioned earlier for the hinges. So we're gonna keep these screws with the hinges. Wow, pretty tight. Okay, sometimes the power doesn't work. You can use the manual one. That was a pretty tight screw. There we go. So we'll keep the hinges with the bolts so we don't misplace them. Here's hinge number 1. And we'll loosen this side up first, since they seem to be pretty tight. If you're wondering, the power screwdriver I'm using is a pretty weak. It's perfect for this type of interior work. It's obviously not meant for any heavy duty work. 9 bolts gyroscopic. So it works well for this type of application. I don't like to use the really strong screwdrivers because they're just too heavy duty. This works really well. It's got a little light on it. It's gyroscopic, so you can turn it both ways. Very handy. Okay, so the other hinge is out. Now once this is all out, the only last piece we need is this piece right here. This piece is part of your key system, so you gotta make sure you transfer this. This will just kind of push out. It's kind of stuck in the leather, which is normal. Just gonna push it out so it comes out. There we go, pops out. You see the leather comes out, we'll push that back in. So this piece we don't need anymore. You can save it. Tell the owner, if you sell the car down the road, that hey, I still have the original piece. Set it aside. This is important because this piece is needed. This vinyl came off. So you need this piece to go into the carbon one. So now we got all the pieces out. We got the hinge, screws, flat screws. Move all this booty out of the way. Okay, so for the hinge mechanism, I actually had to go check on another NSX just to double check, but you see how there's a button release? The button faces left, okay? So this thing actually points up and it goes in this way. Because I wasn't sure which way it went, so I had to go look. But it goes in this way. And that drops in nicely. I'm gonna flip it around. And then now we're gonna put the, actually, I guess we should have put the hinges on first, huh? So let's put the hinges back on. These need to be bolted in here. Now it's strange because in certain model year NSXs, there is actually a metal rigidity brace that goes in here. That's why I put this thing in first, because I thought we were gonna bolt the latch in, but this particular model doesn't have that piece. So when you open your glove box, don't be surprised if you see this big metal piece that fits in here. Some of them have it, and some don't have it. I don't know which years they switched over to it, but it looks like it's something meant to give the glove box some rigidity. But you can see on this particular one, there was nothing in there. So when we pulled it out, it's just a plastic. And you see how these screws fit very nicely and they just bolt up perfectly? That's because these holes have threaded inserts that we put in there to make putting these screws in very easy. It gives the whole carbon piece a lot of rigidity and structure. Because you see how these just bolt right up to it. You don't need to over tighten them, just make sure they're snug. Same with this side. When assembling stuff, I don't like to use the power driver, if you noticed. So I like to feel everything by hand, because I don't want to strip something accidentally. All right, so there we go. Hinges are back on. Now this piece is going to sit in here. You see how there's two holes? The screws actually line up, and that lines up with the machine screws right here that we're going to use. So we're just going to kind of hold it from the back side so it doesn't fall out. And then we're going to take this plastic piece, drop it back in. Everything should line up. One will go down, there it goes. Now you can kind of see where all the holes go. The two I like to put in first are the hinges because it holds the hinge in place. So we're going to use the small little panhead screws. You can kind of see where the hole is. So we're going to line it up and put those screws in. All right, so like I was saying earlier, we put these two screws in first. I like to hand tighten them. These two screws are very important because these two hold the latch in place. Once those are in, we just hand tighten all the other screws. One more at the bottom, there's 3. Now when all these screws are in, you just double check your work, make sure everything's lined up. So here you can see there's 3 on the bottom we put back in that we took out, the 2 flat screws, and then the 2 panhandle screws. So now it's all finished, the hinges are back on. The latch is ready to go. So now we're gonna get ready to put this thing back in the car. All right, so we're back in the car. We're gonna be doing the glove box install on this particular NSX. You remember on the workbench, we finished the whole glove box, so this is ready to go back in. On this particular NSX, we're doing a refresh, so we're doing a all the OEM part replacements. The original liner, you can tell, has seen better days. This thing is pretty beat. I don't know what happened to it, but you can see all the wrinkliness. It looks pretty bad. We're not going to use this piece, so we transferred everything to a brand new liner. It's already been installed in the vehicle. This is a great time to do it since the car is already taken apart. We're going to get in there, put the glove box in. Putting the glove box in is pretty easy. As we showed you earlier, there's only a couple of screws holding the glove box in place, and it latches on the top. So we get in here. Okay, with the bottom screws on the hinges, there's 4 of them, 2 on each hinge. I always do these by hand tighten first so we don't cross thread anything. Now the hinges, I know a lot of you guys will ask, they do break. They are available separately from Acura. Let me get in here and I'll show you what it looks like. So you can order these hinges if you need them. Here's the hinges at the bottom. So this side only has one because one side broke. And this side has the 2 nuts right there. So you can order these hinges from Acura. They're not cheap, unfortunately, but I think they cost about $100 each. So if you need 2 hinges, that can add up really quickly. But here's the finished glove box installed. Opens up just fine. Latches perfectly. So now we're ready to move on to finish the rest of the vehicle. But there's your glove box install. So that completes the installation of the glove box. These are some photos of various NSXs we've done glove box installs for. Again, all of our carbon parts come in both matte or gloss finish, so you can get both ideas of what it looks like. Here's a good example of the matte finish. Both of these are direct replacements for your stock glove box. There's no core exchange needed. You just transfer your parts over as we showed you in the video. So you can see what it looks like. Great protection, looks good. Then you don't have to worry so much about the original glove box, which tends to rip, stain, get cut. So these are pretty much a direct replacement. We also offer custom upholstery options, such as a red Alcantara you see there, if you want to get the inner plastic finished as well for a more complete look. We welcome custom jobs, so if you have ideas, give us a call, shoot us a DM. We'll be happy to help. Thanks for watching this video. Until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye.